Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the work session to order. First thing on the agenda tonight is a budget overview, and Beth will be giving us that. Beth?
Yes. I hope you all had a chance to kind of review this. There's a lot of numbers in here, so I'll go through it. And if you have questions, just stop and I'll answer them as best I can. So at this point in the budget preparation cycle, we have had department heads submit their base budgets, which that is just items that are recurring items. Anything above and beyond would be considered capital and supplemental. And they've also prepared that. We are not at a point where we're working that into our budget yet because we're not sure of numbers yet. So that's further along in the presentation. But we have, department heads have reviewed it, and then we met with the city administrator and reviewed it. So we're at the point now where we are waiting on numbers from the county so that we can plug it into the state budget form. State budget forms just came available this week, so I have not even touched that yet, but we'll be working on that for the next budget work session in June, so we'll have more numbers then. This is just to kind of give you an overview of what we're looking at based on our current budget and base items only. So my pointer. Start with the general fund. This is our biggest fund. It's our biggest tax levy fund. This is where we pay most of our department expenses out of. So this is just the revenue side. Obviously, we do not have property tax numbers yet. That's what we're waiting on. We should have those by June 10th from the county. They'll give us an estimated valuation, and then we'll plug those in. Local alcohol liquor tax is another number that I haven't gotten yet. That should be coming soon. They just put out the fuel tax number this week as well. So they're a little behind this year for some reason. Motor vehicle taxes, we got those from the county early in May. So that's a number that I just plug in based on the numbers they give us. And then local, all the other revenues we're going to just project based on previous years and the type of growth that we've had. We haven't had a whole lot more businesses come in, so we're not projecting that we're going to see our sales tax increasing. We might see a little bump this year due to FIFA if we have people coming into our community, but other than that, we're not projecting that we're going to see a huge uptick in sales tax. So we're keeping those numbers fairly low. And we do try to budget conservatively because I would rather be a little bit low on revenues and not be surprised at the end of the year when we don't have enough revenues to cover our expenses. So we have the local county sales taxes. Franchise fees, again, that's a 5% fee that's on, if you look on your electric bill, your gas bill, and that gets paid into the city. Those numbers have stayed fairly constant. We have had the telephone franchise fee is slowly going down as people get away from having home phones. That's just getting smaller and smaller, so we did adjust for that a little bit. Business and occupational licenses, we are anticipating that we will have some occupational licenses with the new Monroe Manor and other businesses. As if they come into town, we'll have some of that. So, and that's been doing pretty well lately. So, permits and fees, another thing, building permits, any type of, if you put a deck on your house, those types of permits, those have been fairly high too. So we've been able to bump that up a little bit. Court, all the police fines and fees have been doing well. We have, I think we're fully staffed. Maybe we're short one officer,
maybe a couple,
maybe two.
Maybe a couple.
So those numbers have been a little bit higher than in previous years. That kind of fluctuates based on.
Yeah, I was going to say it's interesting if you guys look at that line, the 2024 actual, when we were really short-staffed, we only generated $269,000 in fines and fees, whereas 2025 that bumped up to 381. So there's really a big difference in that revenue if we're fully staffed or close to fully staffed versus when we're short a few guys. I also like looking at that 381 number. Whenever people will say, you guys just write tickets for revenue, I mean, that's basically $1,000 a day, which is, what, 5, 6, 7 tickets a day. You know what I mean? So we really don't write as many tickets as sometimes people will say. And that's kind of the proof right there when you look at the revenue.
Yeah.
You should have got on Facebook the other day and explained to the people on there about quotas and end of the month. And
Yep.
Animal control holds pretty steady. We currently don't have an animal control officer full-time, so the piece that gets overlooked sometimes is we send out mailers, and then we expect people to come in and register their animals, and we don't have someone who can follow up on people who are not coming in. So when we had someone in that position, part of their job was, hey, I sent these out, I haven't heard from this many people, I need to follow up with them and see where they are and what if their animal is deceased or if they just forgot and haven't come in to re-register them.
is there a fee for being late?
There's no fee. Well, there's no fee as long as your animal hasn't done something to another person and you end up in court.
But if they just don't pay it and
We
then
just
come
ask
in
them to
6
come
months
in.
or a year later to pay
Yep.
it,
Yep.
there's no extra charge.
There's no extra charge.
Can they do that online?
They can pay online, but we have no way, like if they want another tag, they have to come in physically to get it or send us a self-addressed stamped envelope for it. Now, we don't issue new tags for each registration. Like if they have registered in the city before and they don't need another dog tag for their dog, that's fine. They can do it online. So, but we do need to see proof of rabies.
So for the first one, you gotta come in.
Yeah.
After that.
I think a lot of people don't make their dogs wear collars or tags.
They don't, and we tell them a lot of people will keep the tag with their paperwork, so they have it, and we have it in our system, and we have the dog in our system then. So if the dog is picked up, and we can identify them, it was in this neighborhood, we can go in the database and kind of look at the street and see if there's a dog that's registered. So. Yeah, we give them for cats too, and my cats don't wear tags. So.
This weekend they're having I think it's in Jackson County, where for the first 200 people there can vaccinate their dogs and register them for free and get them chipped for free, just to encourage people to do it. But it's only the first 200 people. I'm thinking, how long is that line going to be? So
Through the city?
I think it's in Jackson County somewhere, Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah.
They must be.
I'm not sure if we could do anything
Yeah.
like that ever or not.
This isn't us, but I think the Humane Society does occasional spay and neuter events through the Kansas State Vet School. So sometimes when you drive by the Humane Society, you'll see a big van there. And that's
Okay.
one of the things they're doing. They're having the students spay and neuter animals either at a discount or free, I think. So,
I think
Yeah,
the
cool.
Hope Animal Shelter does that too, don't
okay, yeah.
they? In Leavenworth. So
And
moving
Beth,
down, we have, yeah.
How close are we to the budgeted 2026 property taxes and the actuals?
The 20 currently. what we
Yeah,
brought
I
in,
mean, it looks.
we're about half.
Still looks like $1 million more in taxes from 2025.
Yeah,
So I'm just wondering how close we are to that. And
we have.
did we get it close or not?
Well, we're expecting it. We get our disbursement in January and June.
Right.
So we're at 42% right now. And we'll get a little more in September.
And the property tax is $1 million.
So
Yeah.
Property tax line's $1 million, isn't it? Yeah.
Are you talking about from 2025 to 2026, it's a $1 million increase?
It's
Is
the
that what you're-
projection, yeah.
yeah. So because the mill levy varies between the different funds, it changes every year because the general fund has a higher mill levy this year than like debt service had a lower mill levy this year because we had the remaining funds from our bond issue for the pool. And once that project's complete, we transfer that into bond and interest to help pay off that debt. So that lowers the amount of mill levy dollars we have to use for debt service, and it increased the general fund
Okay.
mill levy
So,
dollars.
so the mill levy was flat. It just kind of shifts between
Yeah.
the four different levied funds.
Yeah, but still, I mean, the projection is we're going to have $1 million more in property taxes than we did in 25.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's based on, I mean, that's pretty accurate. That's the county.
Okay.
So,
Thanks.
and then we have other fees, and those kind of things fall. We have the community center rentals. We get reimbursed expenses. We have an SRO. The school district reimburses us the expense of his hours that he works over there. Just minor things. Activity center, just little line items of revenues that come in. And then we have interest on our idle funds, which has been doing pretty well lately. It's kind of going down now. So
Except for which bank you're
we may
using.
adjust that number. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Moving on to the expenses. These are all the departments that are in the general fund, and I apologize. These are tiny numbers, but to fit it all into one slide, we have to do it. So this is we just put down the difference column is the difference between what's requested in 27 versus what is budgeted in 2026. And I've already kind of tweaked some of the 2026 numbers to reflect, like, we had an increase in health insurance, and
Right.
if there were decreases, we know we're not going to spend, I think it was $230,000 we budgeted for the comp plan. So I bumped that number down to the $194,000 that we're actually spending on it. So this is, and really there's an explanation as to why it's increasing. Most of it has to do with salaries and benefits. It's the health insurance increase. We do have, like, admin, they have some training and computer software. We're going to have to switch our agenda software. So there's going to probably be an increase with that. Fuel is another area in some of these budgets that you'll see that the cost of gas has gone up, and some of these departments, like the police department, uses a lot of fuel. So that's going to affect it. There aren't any huge increases. Police department, it looks huge, but they have the most employees too. They have like 21 employees, I think, total.
And also remember too, if we're down 2 or 3 employees, that might be why that number looks artificially lower in 2024 and 2025, whereas 2027, I think, is reflected as if we were fully staffed, right?
Yeah.
And even that can fluctuate because you won't.
The police
get
department
somebody
almost always
who's-
fluctuates, yeah.
Well,
They're-
but if you have somebody that's already qualified and has specialized training or something, where they can get bumped up.
They could, yes.
So-
If we hire somebody who's got, a bachelor's degree, they're going to start higher than our minimum pay. So you have to look at all of that.
Bilingual.
So I kind of have to budget high when I'm budgeting the expenses, because I have to budget, like, they're going to come in and they want family coverage. They want, they're going to contribute to our deferred comp plan, so they're going to get an employer match. And we kind of want to put them, we don't want to start at the base pay range, just in case we hire somebody who is, above that range. So that always looks high. It usually always comes in lower by the end. But it's just to project this far out, you have to do that. And then we did see some savings in the municipal court. We've pulled probation in. That is actually running pretty smoothly. It's a little bit busier than I think we anticipated, but we seem to be adjusting to it. So we're working through those, and that will save us $40,000. We did bump up one of our employees' pay to cover those additional job duties, and it's a lot more than I think she thought it was going to be, but I think we can handle it. So we'll see. It's been 3 months that we've taken it over. So
We were paying Leavenworth, $40-something thousand a year for that.
Yeah.
And so if we can handle that in-house with an employee, that's savings to the city.
yes.
So when the departments request, so the police department, let's say they have 2 vacancies, are they requesting full up? I mean, is that the projection, or is it?
So we just
What the salaries
look
are
at the
now.
department, and we have to look at the type of position. Like, is it a sergeant? Is it just a police officer? Because that's
Right.
going to put them on a different pay scale. So we just project for a full department.
Okay. So you're
So-
including the vacancies in the
Yes.
projection.
Correct.
And then if you don't hire them, you have lag.
Yes.
And then- okay, I got you.
So it could be that we have 6-month lag,
Right. No, I got you. Thanks.
And then the community and economic development also had quite a decrease, but that's because we budgeted for the comp plan in 2025. So, and then any questions on any of these? Really, a lot of it is health insurance, fuel, training.
Second line from the bottom says insurance aside. What insurance is that?
That's property liability,
So I figured it was. Okay.
workers' comp. All
That's
those.
not
We
health.
just
Yeah.
we just budget like 10% more, so that we don't know what it's going to do, but to be safe. It goes up every year, it seems like.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
I mean, at this point in the budgeting process, it's a guess. I mean,
It's a
that's
guess.
just doing our best.
Yeah.
That-
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We're like
Yeah.
18 months out,
Yeah.
Right.
so from what we'll know. 6 months out from the end of the year, so. And then over to the side, I put the transfers. These are the transfers that we do from the general fund. And these are like capital improvements. It's a transfer basically of sales tax dollars. And that helps pay for like mill and overlay, curbs and gutters, and stormwater drainage, those types of projects. The project we're getting ready to do across the street at 4-H. So, equipment reserve, we started making a transfer, gosh, I think it's been like 10 years.
It's been 10 years.
To help offset the impact to the general fund of replacement items. So the goal was to put money aside in this equipment reserve, and then as items came up that needed to be replaced, we could pay for them out of there rather than hitting the general fund every year. We have a little reserve, and it's worked pretty well. And we usually bring those to you in October. I think this past year we didn't have any. So we kind of reduced the transfer then. At the end of the year, I'll look at all these transfers, and if it looks like we're not needing them in that other fund, we'll keep it in the general fund to help keep that reserve up.
Beth, do any of the other funds have a equipment reserve as
Police
well?
department does.
Right.
Police department has an equipment reserve fund that is funded by $10 from every moving violation goes to that equipment reserve fund. And we do the same thing there. We try to pay for, I think we were paying for radios out of there this year. We try to buy a police vehicle out of there every couple of years. So it just helps alleviate that from the being in the general fund.
Okay. So the police department's the only one.
Police
currently.
department, and we're
Fire?
looking at doing a fire
Okay.
equipment
Yeah,
reserve
I was
fund.
going to ask that
That's
question. All right.
I'm gonna put it in the budget, and I'll budget a transfer from the fire department fund into that. But we don't know. We don't have enough data for the fire department,
Right.
so I'll probably wait till the very end of the year, and then we'll kind of figure out what that transfer should look like.
Okay.
Yeah. So the intent is to build up the same kind of fund for fire department.
I have one question. Why is the IT going down 24,000?
IT, some of the items that we were spending out of IT, they pay for all the departments. And so we moved some of those, like wastewater. It's an enterprise fund. It should technically fund itself. And there were expenses for computers, support for wastewater that we could put toward in the wastewater fund. Same with the library, same with the fire department. So that's what we
Well,
did.
wastewater just had a big IT upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Ruthless.
I don't think
Should send all our bills.
made
to you,
sense.
Tony.
We're
so.
basically spreading it out because the wastewater fund's not tax levied. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can spread it out amongst other departments.
Anywhere we can pull anything we can pull out of the general fund that's not going to affect property taxes is what we're trying to do. So we're looking for.
And you're sure about that wastewater number? He's not going to come back later and ask for more money, right? Because he's good at that.
Well, he has a few things later on. Yes.
One other thing regarding the decrease in IT too, I think we also had a fair amount of startup fees when you think about it. Like we basically had 2 brand new departments last year. So like I know we bought, isn't it like rugged tablets for the fire department and software for the pool and things like that. Yeah, so I mean, there
Yeah.
were also a couple of startup costs that I think were incurred in 2025 that won't be incurred in future years.
Well, IT will go up and down. Forever.
Any other questions? We really did try to emphasize, like, this is not the year to ask for things, and it's a year to keep everything, as low as you can, just because state legislation, nothing passed that's going to help with the R&R rate. They didn't build in any type of CPI or any kind of factor for growth. So we're kind of stuck with that, and it's hitting, I think it's hitting a lot of cities that way, where all of a sudden, you're like, we can't get into reserves any more than we did. So we told everybody, just kind of lay low this year if you can. So this page just shows the general fund mill levy and what it's done over the past couple of years. 2022, we were at 41.031 mills. 23 is when we first did the R&R. We went to the R&R rate. And then 24 we did as well. 25 looks weird, but it's because we added the fire department. So
And that's,
we didn't suddenly
that,
jump
that
up because
gets a lot of people, and you try to explain to them that you were paying it anyway. You're just paying
Yes,
it to the
yeah.
city now.
it's just going to a
And that
different
was
entity.
one thing that was hard to get people to, you were already paying it.
Right.
Go look at your tax bill. You were already paying it.
Yes.
You're just paying it to us now instead of them.
Yes.
So one of the things that was kind of hard to get people to grasp.
Yeah. So, and then in 2026 we tried to stay flat, keep a flat mill levy. It went up a little bit because of the actual valuation was a little bit higher. That's why. But it's good to kind of look and see what we did. And then also the beginning fund balances is in the general fund. So you can see we kind of in 2022, from 2022 to 23, we had an increase in the fund balance. It was pretty high, so we were able to, hold that revenue neutral rate. But then it's been steadily decreasing, and we don't want it to drop too much more.
So the bottom line there is the reserve balance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, at the beginning of each year.
And what is the typical percentage you want to keep in the reserve? That's just so everybody knows. Like,
They say like 17% of you can do it either with revenues or expenses, like 3 months worth of revenues or expenses.
Okay.
So I like to do 20%. First of all, it's a round number,
it's easy to calculate.
and it's a little more conservative.
Yeah.
So yeah. The other thing is when we go out to bond for money, they'll look at that. They'll look at what are your reserves doing, and they're going to ask. We always have an interview with Moody's, and they'll be like, "Why are your reserves dropping?" And so
All right.
that could potentially affect our rating.
But when we bond money, it's to our benefit to have that reserve number higher.
Pardon?
When we're bonding money,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things they look at, see what your reserves are.
Yeah.
And the better that number is, the better the rate we
Right.
should get. Okay.
That's one factor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see where we went revenue neutral a couple of years and just ate into our
Yeah.
reserve.
Which wasn't a bad thing. I mean,
No.
we shouldn't have excess reserves, but we have to be careful that we then
But
don't
the
get in the habit
state's
of
law never took into account
yes.
To
inflation,
show where the
which
reserve
Right.
we've been
balance is right now.
at least talking to our
Yeah, this is-
senators about.
So
Okay,
this
that's
is
what
what
I
we got
said,
left over
yeah.
after
We're
we
going to change
What-
that.
for everything, yeah.
I'm confused about like what the debt service means. Is that like minimum payments on debt?
The debt service, the
Other
She's on the bottom line.
So the debt services, that's where we pay our all of our bonds out of, like
all of our debt.
all of our debt comes out of there except wastewater debt. That comes out of wastewater.
And is this like minimum payments calculated or like extra on top?
This is the actual payments that we pay. Like I have a debt schedule, and then that's the amount that we pay
Yeah, so it'd
for
be the
each
minimum.
year. So it goes
Whatever
down
the-
a little bit every
Whatever the
year.
cost per month is, we pay it.
It'll be in my next presentation,
sorry.
the debt schedule.
Like
No,
a
that's
mortgage
fine.
payment.
Yeah, but there's a debt schedule we follow, and it lines out what your payment is every year, and you total all your debt, and that's the number you plug in for your expenses.
I just didn't know if it was calculated off of like, say you're paying your credit card and you're paying the minimum amount instead of paying extra on it. I didn't know how that was.
No, it's a set interest rate, and we have a payment. We have 2 interest payments a year, and then we have a principal payment in September. All of ours fall, like our interest payment
And-
is March
yeah.
1, and then
And the bond guys, they'll tell us if the interest rates are low enough that we want to redo the debt. So
Yeah,
we can
if we wanna-
make money and
yes. And then there
Or
is
pay it
a
off
point
earlier.
where we can choose to refund. We can do a refunding or we can pay off, but it's all in the bond documents, so that determines when we have that ability to do that if we want to pay it off early.
So yeah, we know what we're going to pay on debt in 7 years and 9 years. You know what I mean? Like it lays it out for you each year, the interest payment and the principal payment. So yeah, it's more like a mortgage than a credit card payment.
if Gilmore and Bell see like interest rates have gone lower, they'll come to us and say, hey, you might want to redo these and
Yes.
pay it off a little earlier.
Yeah, they'll say you want to refinance because
Yeah.
we can get you a better interest rate.
Mhm.
We did that a couple of years.
Yeah.
Well,
I was gonna
it's
say,
been
was
it
more than a
by
couple
now
years
it's
ago.
been 2021 or 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done it a couple times, yeah.
Ain't happening no more.
But then you go back because like I'm working on this budget book, and a couple of them it's like the 2012A or whatever, and it's just refunding, and we're like, what did it refund? And you got to go back to 2006 and 2001. What project was it that we initially started with this money? And
I was going to say, because I remember one of them was the Bittersweet Bridge, and they refinanced that to a lower interest rate,
Yes.
and then they refinanced it again to a low. So it was just like that, where it kept saying refinanced debt from 2000 whatever, refinanced debt from 2000 whatever. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so that number up at the top under 2026, it says 2,236,000.
That's
That's
our
the money that
beginning.
we have in reserve.
that's the beginning.
Right.
Yes.
And you mentioned something about a 20%. What is that close to what that 20% would be? Is that
It's a little bit higher, yeah.
Okay,
So we're still okay. Yeah. So yeah, and then I put the other tax levy funds, just their expenses. Most of them are their only revenues, or most of the bulk of their revenue comes from property tax, so it's not, there wouldn't have been any revenues really to project that would at this point. But library, we're using a little bit of fund balance this year to do the parking lot and the shelves, but it looks good over there. So, and then fire department, they're doing well. I think, again, we have 1 year under our belt, so we'll see what that looks like at the end of next year. And I will set up a transfer in there too. That's not built in there yet, but I'll put in a transfer to a fire equipment reserve fund so that we have that option if we want to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
And then
Definitely.
debt service is pretty much just driven by what our debt payment is for
Yep.
the year. So we will see a little bit of bump in the mill levy for that though, because this year, we had extra money that we didn't use when we built the pool that will transfer into there. And that'll help offset this year's payments. So we also have salaries and benefits in library and fire too. So just keep that in mind. Moving on to our special revenue funds, we have a lot of special revenue funds. So I kind of put a description down below of just a brief description of that highlights how they function, what their purpose is. So if you have any questions on those, I didn't put in revenues for special highway because that is the fuel tax, and like I said, we just got that. However, in looking at it, it looks like it dropped about $25,000. So we may need to increase the transfer from the general fund to help that fund along. And that we do have salaries and benefits that come out of there, so that causes an increase every year.
That's how we pay for the street department, salaries and benefits.
Yeah. Special alcohol liquor is mainly just the local alcohol liquor tax. A third of it goes in there. Once I get that number, I'll plug it in. It's fairly healthy. We use that occasionally to purchase a new police vehicle. I think some of the car seats that we have that are available for people, we purchase those out of there, those types of items. I think we've done some community events where they hand out stickers and things, and we take them out of that fund. Special alcohol drug is the fund that we set up when we started receiving funds for the opioid settlements. So those go in there. Those are very restricted as to what we can use them for. However, we did figure out we could use them to purchase radios. So we are doing that for both police and fire. We also did the Veterans Treatment Court through there. That's something that fit
Just
perfectly
ordered
in
that.
with the
How long-
guidelines for
How long
those
is that
funds.
supposed to last? That's good now.
It's going to steadily decrease
Yeah.
over the next several years. So
I think it's
not-
like maybe 6 more years.
Okay.
I'd have to look again, but they're projecting about $10,000 this year. And again, it just depends on when those funds become available. I think as the lawsuits settle. Police equipment reserve, that fund again is funded by that $10 fee that's on every moving violation, and that we pay for. We'll pay for radios, we'll pay for car, anything that we can put in here versus the general fund, we will for police. I think, what was the other thing they were going to get? Maybe it was the cameras, the in-car cameras, which is something our city prosecutor has been asking for a couple years now. So we're able to purchase it out of here rather than hitting the general fund for that. Transient guest tax is funded by our sales tax from the hotel, the transient guest tax. We don't have, I wouldn't say we have a lot of revenue, but it's fairly steady that comes in, and we might see more this year if our hotels are full, and that would be helpful with FIFA. So that really is used for economic development, for community events, so like the Independence Day event, Fall Fest, all of those events are paid for out of this fund rather than, again, paying for them out of the general fund.
That's another fund that's kind of restricted in what you can do with it.
Mm-hmm. Most of these are, if you look at the statute, they have guidelines that you use.
This park was closed part of last year, wasn't it? Or was it the year before?
That was last year.
Yeah.
That's part of last year.
Yeah.
So we didn't get any revenue from them. So.
No, it was a little bit low that year, but it's bounced back.
Yeah.
So it's fairly steady. The CIP, that's Capital Improvements Fund. I need to start remembering to type that in with the new ADA requirements. That is our that's where our mill and overlay project, curb replacement, drainage, any type of big capital project that we're going to do. So again, most of it's funded mostly from a transfer from the general fund, which is sales tax dollars. However, we do get a little bit of federal funds that come in. It's usually about like $160,000. We have to submit and show that we paid something, and they'll give us those funds in exchange. And then occasionally we'll have a grant or something if we apply for grants that comes in through there. That fund balance, you can see the reserves are fairly healthy in there, but we do have that project coming up on 147th Street in 2027 that we kind of put it off. We were going to do it in 25, and we didn't want to do it in 26 because of the 4th of July.
Right.
So 27, 400,000 of that is
Pipe under the.
earmarked for that.
Box culvert.
Yeah.
So, and again, I kind of look at that fund as we're making transfers throughout the year. When we get to the end of the year, I kind of look and see if we really need all of the transfer, where it's at, what the balance, what the reserve is going to be. Because it is nice to have a little bit of cushion in this fund if something comes up all of a sudden, like we have some kind of stormwater issue that has to be repaired.
So one.
Yeah, and we don't have a stormwater utility of any sort. So,
Correct.
I mean, we have a lot of expenses for stormwater that this covers typically.
One great example of this was, I think, 2 years ago when the detention pond by Exchange Bank kind of collapsed, if you guys remember that. So that was an improvement we had to make immediately. I think we used reserves from this. That was $80-something thousand. So that's why you have reserves.
Yeah.
Lina Weaver.
What's that?
Said Lina Weaver fixed that one, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I remember the bid, but
Part of the paving for this lot over here, the parking lot, came out of here too.
I mean, didn't we do something out by Wallalula too with this fund?
That was the Robin Road drainage project.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Came out of this also.
Yeah.
That was
Yep.
60 or
Yeah.
70 something.
Yeah, I think it was 70. So, and we may look at kind of putting aside a little bit because we have a lot of city parking lots that are starting to fall apart. And I was talking to Mike about it. He said we should just kind of earmark some of that, put aside a little bit so that we can knock those out as they come up. So, Special Parks is our parks program. So all the sports that kids are in, all of the fees go into this fund, and then we pay for officials, uniforms, equipment out of this fund. This is where our swimming pool is coming out of. And this one is another one where we've only seen it for a year, and it was kind of a weird year because we opened the pool late. But we do pay salaries out of this fund, and wasn't really initially designed to do that. So we're hoping that last year what we brought in revenue was not enough to cover the cost of running the pool, and we kind of know that. And the pools are not
We
money
said that
makers.
before we built the pool, yeah.
So we do have that transfer. We have a transfer set up from the general fund for $100,000. So again, we just kind of watch that. Based on this year, we'll see what the revenues are doing. We'll look at it. We may have to increase the transfer. I don't know.
yeah. So that's special parks, but Parks and Rec also gets
Parks and Rec.
a certain amount of money from the DeSoto, right? The DeSoto Road sales tax increase, which is split between Parks and Rec and DeSoto debt.
That pays debt for
Yes.
Bernard Park, DeSoto Road, and then the separate one pays debt on the pool.
That's my next slide.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I will say,
I just didn't know between special parks and what the other
the
funds.
sales tax is really just for debt.
Okay.
Yeah. So it has its own fund, which
So these are just fees and things that you would do at
these are
Parks
just
and
like
Rec.
sports
Okay.
fees. When we have a concession stand, those go in there. The pool, anytime you pay to go to the pool, season passes, that revenue's going in here.
Okay.
And then we have the equipment reserve fund, which we kind of talked about before. That's the one we do a transfer from the general fund, and then if there are items that need to be replaced throughout the year, we'll do that. We'll use the money out of here rather than the general fund. So, in fact, last year, since we didn't use it, I actually pulled back $50,000 of that transfer and kept it in the general fund because this is about the fund balance that we project
Right.
it's going to have. Unless we know there's a big piece of equipment coming up that we need to replace, which I think in a couple years there might be a street truck that could wipe that out. So we might have to build that up a little bit. Oh, yep, that's it. Okay, so this is what we were talking about, the sales tax and the pool tax. So the sales tax fund pays the bond payment for DeSoto Road and KBP ball fields. And then the pool sales tax fund pays the bond payment for the aquatic center. So basically what I do is I just look at what the bond payment is for both of these projects, and we do a transfer into the bond and interest fund and pay that from the sales tax that we collect. So when we get the sales tax every month, we break out the portion that goes to these two taxes and put them in these funds.
So the sales tax for or revenues for the parks is only paying for Kenneth Bernard Park ball fields right now? Like it just covers that? There's no extra like to go to the other master plan parks
not right.
projects?
Not right
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
I was going to say, I think on the pool one, I do think the attorneys wrote that in a way where if the city council wants some level of flexibility and it's a recreation amenity, I mean, that would be something that would be at your discretion. But the intention was to reimburse the debt for the pool. But I think on the pool one, I think the attorneys tried to write that in a way where the city council has some flexibility as long as it's a recreation amenity, was my understanding.
I don't see like a whole lot of excess funding outside of the pool. I mean, for pool. But the original DeSoto Parks one, I didn't know it was just for Kenneth Bernard
think-
all parks. I mean, I thought it was for all Parks and Rec.
I think
and
it
then,
might have been written for that. And so we could look at doing that. However, we always want to keep in mind, like, what's our last payment that's going to be due? Because the sales tax ends.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what the expenses were on the ballpark, which I know it was quite a bit.
Mhm.
But I mean, when we originally did the split, it was to support the master plan for Parks and Rec, like improving Willow Park, improving City Park, improving Kenneth Bernard. And then we went to Kenneth Bernard and did the ballpark. If that sucked up all of the sales tax for the debt, then okay. I was just curious as to what portion of that is going to Kenneth Bernard Parks, and then do we have any excess that's going to support the rest of the master plan?
So everything goes into here, and then, so right now, all we're paying is the debt
Okay.
out of this fund. All the revenue goes in here. So what we can do, I know we did pay for some of the master plan out of here.
Yeah.
It's been a couple years. So if we were to have something like that with the master plan, have an expense like that, it would just be paid out of this fund instead of it
Okay.
being diverted to another fund.
Yeah.
So, and at that point, I think we just want to look at and be like, is this healthy enough to support what we think we're going to pay
Right.
for?
So
Yeah.
like pickleballs at City
Right.
Park, or
Yeah, and I mean,
I
if we
mean,
suddenly
something that
have
we
a
want
huge
to.
increase in sales tax revenues. Well, yeah, because our debt isn't going to really fluctuate.
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So,
So once we get a shopping center, for example,
right.
we might have a little extra.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Really need that shopping center.
Yeah. That's like, come on in. Yeah. Please.
So these are our two enterprise funds, which are wastewater and solid waste. Wastewater, we're doing some projects in there. I think I bumped up the revenue a little bit because of Monroe Manor. It's just we don't know when houses are going to be built. So hopefully sooner rather than later. And then the expenses, there's a couple CNS items that are on the next slide. And again, keep in mind, these are all projections. Like, I'm projecting the beginning balance because we're not even through 2026. So these are really, really rough projections, like worst case scenario projections.
So that ending balance on the very bottom line, that's what we think it will be on December 31st, 2027. So I mean, that's us looking in a crystal ball in 18 months.
Yeah, and that's like,
Just the worst
yeah,
timing for any kind of financial. The state just cracks me up with this thing. It's all a projection, and then you got to, tax people on it. It's just crazy. But
And that includes the waste management rate increase that we're probably going to get.
probably.
predicting your bills for a year and a half out.
So, solid waste is, it's we've got a little bit of reserve in there. We don't have a lot. We keep it pretty tight, and we're really just paying the contractor. We do have a little piece that's an administrative fee that really covers like the senior trash rate because they're not paying the full price for the cost that we have to pay waste management. And then
What age is that?
65.
I'm in.
Okay, so moving on to, these are the capital and supplemental requests. So these are items that are above the base budget. things that are outside of that, they're usually like a one-time purchase, or if it's staff, then it's going to be something that'll be added to the base budget the following year. We really didn't have any for the general fund. We do have the fire department has a couple, and then wastewater. Fire department, number one is the hose replacement, and Joe, he said, I think this is worst case scenario.
Yeah,
so
that amount they gave me was worst case scenario.
So I think when we purchased a similar amount of hose earlier this year, it was $12,000. So hopefully it'll be less.
the other item is adding an assistant fire chief position, and if that's approved, we would look at doing that at the end of 2027. So it wouldn't have the full hit of a full year. It would just be the last quarter. So that's a full year.
Is that the full fully burdened labor rate?
I'm sorry?
That's the fully burdened rate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's for a full year.
Yep.
So
So it'd be what, 30 or 40,000?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of ease into it. We have a lot banking on what happens in 2027. So.
We're banking on a lot of new sales tax coming in.
Yes. So then wastewater, the clarifier rehab, that's another piece of equipment that has to be scrubbed and repainted and done everything too, right?
So we've got 3 final clarifiers that we rotate through periodically. They do some required maintenance, but everything needs to be sandblasted, primed, and epoxy coated. That's the price to do more. And that'll kind of be our litmus test to see what we need to budget in future years to do that.
And then the resurface of their parking lot, that's been needed for a couple of years. I mean, it's been on the kind of on deck. This is just a piece of it. I think the total is $750,000. So this would knock out part of it, and then we could piece it out over a couple of years.
We able to make this a bid alternate on the mill and overlay when we put it out?
The particular piece that we will be doing for the parking lot would actually be a complete replacement of most of the concrete.
Okay.
As you enter the gate.
Yep.
Similar to what they did at Public Works for the library. So not really.
Okay. Not
Mill
apples
and
to apples.
overlay,
Gotcha.
yeah.
No,
Okay.
There is a portion in the third phase
Mhm.
would be mill and overlay towards the back of the plant, which is all asphalt.
Mhm.
We've got 2 large sections of all concrete
Okay.
that we're going to try to knock out first. 'Cause
Yeah, and it's pretty bad out there.
It is bad.
It's pretty bad.
We hot patched it
And
3 years ago. And
Yeah.
it held up, but it's just getting worse.
Oh, they should have taken better care of it. I'm telling you what.
I mean, just the trucks going in and out of there, just chewing it up.
Bullseye for Jesse.
So because the wastewater fund is not a tax levy fund, we will
Right.
probably try to budget those in.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that we have to spend them. We will always bring them back to council for approval. But we have the budget authority if we need to, if we decide we want to tackle that. We'll probably we want to see better numbers, before we make decisions with big dollar items. The fire department, 15,000 probably isn't going to change the mill levy significantly. But again, the fire chief position, we'll project that out once we have numbers on what the valuation is and see what that impact is. We kind of like to keep that fund at 9 mills because we have Delaware that they are paying us a fee for that, and they're charging their residents 9 mills. So we like to keep that pretty level. So we'll attempt to do that. So we'll come back, we'll revisit these at the next work session too.
Okay.
Any other questions? We got a lot to
You
discuss
asked
in
all
the
my
next
questions
one.
early on. Yeah. So, yeah.
I don't.
I know that's an incredible amount of work. Thank you for putting that all together
sure.
and briefing us tonight.
Yeah.
Excellent job.
And we are still in the open enrollment period for our employees, so those numbers will fluctuate a little bit too. Overall, if everybody stayed the same, it's about a $100,000 increase for the city. So. But I'll just keep juggling the numbers till
Everybody good?
Thank you.
Questions?
You're welcome.
Thank you, Beth.
Well, then we are adjourned at 7:50.